Hello, my name is Aris G. I will try a miracle. In 20 minutes, I will show you how to deliver an awesome presentation, and it's a condensed course of many books and courses. And bizarrely, my presentation will not be that good because it has to be efficient and fast. So it's like a contradiction. I will teach you how to present a good presentation, but myself, I'm not doing the right job. So remember, for your presentation, for whenever you are preparing your presentation, there should be just 1 to 3 messages max. My recommendation is one message per presentation because uh, that would confuse the audience if you had to deliver more than 3 messages. One message, you would get the job very well done. Of course, also check the needs of your audience and customize your presentation. For example, let's suppose you have a joke to tell to Russians. Americans would not laugh out of this joke because the sense of humor is different. So customize your presentation and also sell an experience. So, for instance, do not sell a trip to Moscow. Sell um, how this trip would help you to find beautiful women. So, always appeal to human emotions, even when you're talking about business in a company. So, how you will benefit from this presentation, not your company, because human beings are egoistic. So, always tackle that problem. So practice 1 to 3 times if that's your native language and you are an expert in that subject. But if you're not, and if that's not your native language, have to practice 8 to 12 times. And the last time should be on stage, on an empty stage, but you should feel how it is to move here and there. And, just to have this, uh, let's say, feel how would it be in a real presentation. And one before the final rehearse, you should present to a native speaker of that language. Always remember your presentation should avoid being a cliche, should avoid being corny. Always surprise whenever possible. So the flow of your presentation should be introduction, message, and conclusion. Remember, indulge yourself to have some pauses. Take care of the rhythm as you speak. And even your body gestures, the way you move around should count. Okay? So tell always for every message, you should tell what you're going to tell in the introduction, tell them the message in the message part, and tell what you told them in the conclusion at least 3 times per message. Remember, uh, the same way you should change the rhythm every 4 minutes of your presentation, because there's a study that shows that every 8 minutes adults lose their attention. So you should change your style of presentation every 4 minutes, every 4 slides, more or less. So if you're speaking too fast, maybe you should speak slower. If you're telling jokes, now become serious. If you're moving around, now stop. If you're showing your left side to the audience, now show your right side. So always change every 4 minutes your style. And basically separate the sections clearly with right transitions. And try again to involve the people, the audience at a personal level in every way possible, not only in the introduction, but in every step possible. So basically, this is how you should outline your presentation. You should basically say in the introduction, what's the main purpose of your presentation. So within the first 7 seconds, you should build rapport. You should build the first impression with your audience. Don't waste the first 7 seconds of your presentation by saying your name, good day, good morning. Don't waste that. First impression matters a lot to draw attention to this grab, to this hook of their attention. And don't forget that for the first 30 seconds, you should be able to answer this question in their brains, in their subconscious mind. What the hell am I doing here? Okay, so this is basically, you should not waste the first 30 seconds and the first 7 seconds of your presentation by presenting your name and saying good day or something like that. And then there is the conclusion. Conclusion is when you're finally gonna sell your fish, gonna sell your product. Remember, your presentation starts much earlier, much before your real presence, physical presence on stage. The way, the smell of the place, the colors, the layout, the background music, and the four slide also plays a big role to setting the mood of your audience. Always mind that. I will not be covering in details this, just how to arrange the seats of your presentation. Number one is more suitable whenever you don't want the audience to interact among themselves. And at most, they will be asking you questions. Number two is more suitable whenever you want to make them feel you are their friends. You are putting yourself at the same level as the audience. And one, you want and expect the audience to interact among themselves and to participate a lot. Number three is more suitable whenever you want to have group production. Whenever there will be some groups and people will have to have an output, whatever output you are expecting. Presentation format layout number four. It's similar to number two, except that it's more formal, and you expect again a more formal output or production from your audience. And also again, you want them to interact among themselves. And number five is similar to number four, except that hierarchy plays a big role. So whenever hierarchy matters, that should be the case. For your introduction, how to introduce. I more or less mention a bit how to introduce, but remember, the first step is attention. Remember this, the first step is not saying hello, good morning, my name is, no, don't do this. The first step is grab attention from the public. You should grab attention with a joke, maybe an interaction, a shocking fact, something, a breaking news, or something like that. Okay? But always remember about backfiring. So if you're not good at telling jokes, don't do it, because it can backfire on you and people, for example, will not laugh. That'll be embarrassing. The same for sarcasm and other techniques. And here is also the moment for you to feel yourself relaxed. So maybe starting with an interaction with a question should be okay. Also to relieve your anxiety. But always mind about backfiring. Okay, if you can handle that or not, if you're good at it or not. Then comes the benefit. Remember the first 30 seconds. The first 7 seconds is about attention. The first 30 seconds is about benefits. How they will personally benefit from your presentation, from the information in there, personally, even if you're talking about their companies. C, credibility. Why they should listen to you. You have to show off your expertise. Why should people trust you? This is the moment to say in your introduction. And the direction. The direction is pretty much like the index. What messages or message you are going to say? Remember, each title of this message should be interesting enough to make them curious to know what comes up next. So I already mentioned about this, okay? Remember, sell an experience. And don't forget, again, to not waste the beginning of a presentation with a good first impression. Now, how we're going to deliver your message or your messages? Remember, maximum of 3 messages. You should follow this structure: PEEP. Point, that means explain your message, tell your message. Then you have to have an explanation, one example, and recap the main message. More or less 4 slides per message. Okay, unless it's too complex, then it might need more, maybe a video and something, or some more supporting visual aids as well. The most important part here is the example, because this is how you're going to approach that product or idea to their own lives at a personal level. So there are some techniques on how to show an example whenever you're delivering a message. The first situation is when you have this disaster structure, is whenever you're going to show what they will lose by not buying your product, what they are losing by not having that. Remember, that could be too aggressive. So it's always recommended to balance out later with something positive. And there's another approach, it's called drain approach, is whenever do the opposite, what they will gain by buying your product, what they are missing by not buying your product. Okay, this comes from disaster structure. I always like to give 2 examples: the disaster structure, and then I balance out with drain approach, something good. Okay, and remember, for every bad point that the audience might think about your products, maybe a weakness of your product, always turn that into something good. Okay, for example, it's not a problem, it's an opportunity. So basically, there are some techniques in how you should deliver this rhythm, this music, this orchestra of your message. Remember, again, every 4 minutes you should change your pace, your style, because adults lose attention every 8 minutes. So you want to anticipate that losing. There's one technique here which is called tease, tease, and punchline. You basically are holding a secret to the end, but you keep teasing, almost delivering the truth or the secret, but you don't. This is how you grab their attention. Technique number 2 is about explaining, reinforcing, and surprising your audience with something totally that they are not expecting, normally something in that paradoxical form. And there's this reincorporation. Reincorporation is when you basically are presenting something, then you stop, in quotation mark here, there's some quotation here, when you stop and you go to a side story, start telling a side story, to then later on come back to your regular presentation. The idea here is to be more entertaining and approach real life situations with their own lives. Maybe you can tell a story about your family that has to do with that, about a friend, about another company, and so forth. Okay. As for your conclusion, announce the end. Okay, recap the messages or the message, or remember that I recommend 1 message per presentation. And now you have to ask the audience this, how to take their action. It means buy my product. How we're gonna make this in such a way that they will buy your product here. So don't be so pushy, but yes, something you have to influence. Definitely you have to influence your audience here. And finally, remind your audience about the good things that you presented, not the message. Let me talk about the good things there. Okay, so announce the end, recap the messages, ask the audience to take action, remind the audience, and finally, then you can let them speak. I will talk about this soon, how we can let them speak. Remember, for visual aids, the rule of 5: have no more than 5 lines of text on a slide and no more than 5 words a line. That means don't do what I'm doing here. I'm delivering you a bad presentation because I have to condense this in just 20 minutes. which is really hard. Many books, many courses in few minutes. Sorry for this. This regular course takes like 3 months, 4 months, but I'm trying to do this, you know, in 20 minutes. As for your slides, keep it simple. Trust on your explanation. Don't let this slide explain by itself. It's not good because there will be so much information in it. Don't ever turn your back to your audience. And basically, yes, control the audience, how give them some handouts prior to your presentation. Remember, your presentation starts before you even enter the stage. Let's move on to the next page. How you can handle questions. Whenever the questions are simple, that's fine. You can just answer right away. But whenever they're complex, there are 5 steps. Listen first, paraphrase, echo what you're listening to make sure you understand and the audience, everyone else does as well. Okay, add some value to the question. Thank the question. Add some value. Make the person feel good for asking that question, and empathize with this or with this very person, and then finally respond. Should you do this in every question? Of course not, just for the most complicated question. But I will tell you what I want, what I really like to do in this part of handling questions. I like to manipulate the audience to ask what I want to answer, not what they want me to answer. How I do that? For example, I can say, if you have questions about economy cycle, you can do it now. But if you have other questions, you can email me. I'll be glad to answer. Why is that important to manipulate what your audience is going to ask? For 2 reasons. One, because time is precious. If you let them speak, the time would be, too long. And secondly, you don't want to happen in a situation in which your entire presentation will be destroyed at this point by stupid questions, by stupid people, and maybe people challenging you here. You don't want that to happen. So this is not the best time to screw up everything. Make sure your presentation finished in the best way possible. What else? No, that's it for now. You can pause the video and take a look better later on. And some general thoughts again. Always, in every way, in every message, appeal to human emotions. If you have to say something shocking about something, say something shocking about yourself, your family, or an imaginary friend. But don't ever do that about real people, real religion, real politics, and so forth. Okay, take care, hold your thoughts, hold your ideas, and you can do this with yourself, but not with someone else, because you could eventually trigger a bad feeling from the audience. You don't want that to happen. And hold for the laughter. That means if the audience is interacting with you, for example, they are laughing out of something you said, let them laugh. If they're interacting with you, let them interact. But remember, don't ever expect them to interact back with you. So if you have a joke prepared for your presentation, if you have an interaction of any kind, maybe a question to our audience, don't expect them to raise their hands, don't expect them to laugh, and so forth. Always have a plan B. That means continue your presentation as normal as if you're not expecting anything. But if they interact, that's good, because remember, interaction is a good feedback. If they are interacting, that means they are engaged. Okay, this is a good way actually for you to assess yourself. And here is about the pranksters as well. So there will be some people that will be challenging you and causing you trouble. Remember, you can make them feel not okay to do that in that very moment. And I guess that's it for now.